Is Deloitte more exclusive than Harvard? Well, I guess that depends on what you mean by exclusive, but why is this even a question? Well, to answer that, we have to take a step back and talk about Deloitte University. Now, for those of you who don't know, Deloitte University, or DU, is a facility outside of Dallas, Texas, where Deloitte hosts a variety of educational and team building events, but it's probably best known as the place where Deloitte sends its new hires for orientation. In a lot of ways, DU is kind of like a cult compound. It's gated, it has a hotel, on-site amenities, free Starbucks, and mediocre brisket, all with the goal of impressing new employees and getting them hyped about working at Deloitte. Now, I'd be lying if I said DU wasn't a good time. It's an absolute blast. After a day of small group sessions, everyone heads over to the barn to get drunk out of their minds, and if they're lucky, have a one-night stand with one of their colleagues. And you know, they host these orientations like every month, so it's best not to think about what your room looks like under a black light. Anyway, rinse and repeat for 3 days or so, and you're back off to whatever depressing project you were staffed on before. So, on one of these days, they'll have everyone gather in the main auditorium where you do some more mingling and some team building activities, and listen to a PowerPoint presentation on what makes Deloitte great. And in this deck, there is this slide, and it basically goes like this. Hey kids, how many people do you think applied to Harvard last year? 39,506. How many people do you think were accepted? 2,038. What's the acceptance rate at Harvard? 5%. Now, how many people do you think applied to Deloitte US? About 808,000. How many people do you think were hired at Deloitte last year? 15,989. What was the acceptance rate at Deloitte? 2%. So go ahead and give yourselves a pat on the back. You've just joined a firm that's more exclusive than Harvard. Yeah, so setting aside the fact that this slide is hot garbage. Like, imagine if you submitted this slide for review to your managing director or partner. Like, everything about this slide is unacceptable. Anyway, setting that aside, if the data here are accurate, then I guess you could conclude that Deloitte has a lower acceptance rate than Harvard. But the comparison is a stretch at best, and even then, I don't think exclusive is the right word.
Inconceivable! You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I mean, by that logic, both McDonald's and Walmart are also more exclusive than Harvard. And continuing on that logic, you could also say that Chick-fil-A is more exclusive than Deloitte, with a higher rate of just 1%. All this to say that trying to illustrate exclusivity through these types of comparisons is meaningless and kind of embarrassing, which brings me to my point about the problem with Deloitte. Generally speaking, Deloitte is a great firm whose reputation and impact can stand on its own 2 feet. Just for example, in fiscal year 21, Deloitte US generated nearly $23 billion in revenue, over half of which was from consulting. In terms of prestige, Deloitte is seen as the best in the Big Four, surpassed only by MBB, which refer to McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. Having said that, it seems particularly unnecessary and sad that this slide is even a thing, but it kind of illustrates my biggest criticism of Deloitte, which is the firm's constant desire to assert its superiority over other firms and organizations, even going so far as to make these kinds of senseless comparisons. Another example is that Deloitte likes to tell its new hires that they have some service lines and offerings that are better than McKinsey's. That may be so, but if that's the case, why don't you pay your consultants as much as McKinsey, who start their analysts off at $100,000? Sometimes I feel like Deloitte thinks that telling yourself over and over again that you're the best will become some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, but all it really does is provide a sense of accomplishment to their new staff that hasn't been earned, and I think that can lead to arrogance, especially among new consultants, who might be straight out of undergrad and really just don't know any better. At the end of the day, Deloitte is a world-class firm with top-notch talent and vast resources. I hope that one day the firm's culture will shift to a point where they can be proud of themselves for what they have to offer to their employees and their clients without having to compare themselves to Harvard or McKinsey. But if they still feel compelled to do so, at least make a better slide. Hey everyone, Mo from Consulting Humor here. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I'd like to make more of these videos in the future. So if you'd like to support the channel, please visit us at consultinghumor.org, where you can find links to merchandise as well as links to some of the data that we've collected regarding global compensation. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.